fashionable sweaters. Mention the Menendez brothers, and an image appears. Two handsome young men in vivid matching sweaters, like the pastel palette of Easter eggs. The brothers' sartorial choices for court made them look like preppy rich boys called in after a tennis practice, not murderers charged with slaughtering their wealthy parents. That contrast encapsulates the strange allure of Eric and Lyle Menendez. Their story became one of the most notorious true crime sagas in American history. Decades later, the public remains captivated by the chilling tale of family secrets, privilege, and brutal parricide. In August 1989, the brothers committed a savage double murder in their family's lavish Beverly Hills mansion. After months of seemingly normal living, their shocking arrests exposed their facade. The explosive trial unearthed traumatic allegations of long-hidden abuse and dysfunctional family dynamics. After convictions, doubts still lingered. Were the brothers victims turned killers, or simply greedy psychopaths? Be prepared for a complex saga involving claims of molestation, patricide, and the corruptive dangers of power and privilege. The Menendez blood feud leaves unsettling questions about family bonds and what drives once innocent sons to commit such dark deeds. The mansion in the exclusive Beverly Hills neighborhood was the crown jewel of entertainment executive Jose Menendez's self-made empire. Behind its imposing limestone facade, polished antiques, and manicured grounds was a family unraveling at the seams. Jose Enrique Menendez was born in 1944 in Havana, Cuba. In 1960, he fled the revolution to America and relentlessly climbed the corporate ladder. He married Kitty Anderson, a teacher he met in college. Their first son, Joseph Lyle, was born in 1968 in New York. In 1970, Eric Galen arrived in New Jersey. But they harbored traumatic memories and deep resentment towards their parents, especially their father. Jose began sexually abusing Lyle around age 6, inflicting lasting psychological wounds over several years. When Eric became a teenager, he too became a target for their pedophile father's twisted compulsions. The vulnerable boys had no escape from the ongoing abuse in their own home. They confided in each other about their nightmare, feeling helpless, scared, and filled with simmering anger. Their mother Kitty turned a blind eye, unwilling to confront the ugly truth about her esteemed husband. When others tried telling her about Jose's depravity, she shot them down and buried her head in the sand. Meanwhile, the boy's pain and rage grew. Desperate to flee his abuser, Lyle left for Princeton University across the country. But he floundered academically, squandering his potential. After getting expelled for cheating, he moved back home in failure and disgrace, becoming financially dependent on his parents again. Eric focused intensely on tennis as his ticket out, hoping sports stardom would provide escape and adulation. By age 18, he became nationally ranked, on the verge of a professional career. But on one fateful August night, long-simmering family tensions detonated with deadly consequences. That evening of August 20th, 1989, a violent confrontation over Eric's drive for independence seemed to trigger Jose's vicious temper. Sensing grave danger, the brothers armed themselves with Jose's shotguns, went to the den where their parents sat, and unleashed a barrage of gunfire fueled by years of fear and hate. After brutally slaying them both, eerie silence fell over the mansion. After unleashing a barrage of shotgun blasts on their parents, the brothers quickly moved to cover their tracks. Then 21-year-old Lyle and 18-year-old Eric drove to a local movie theater and casually bought tickets for the new Batman film, establishing an alibi. They tossed the bloody shotguns and changed into clean clothes, eliminating physical evidence. Then they returned to their house and Lyle hysterically called 911, wailing, "Someone killed our parents." His theatrical performance would later be mocked in a Jim Carrey film. The chilling details of that night only emerged months later, when the brothers finally confessed. In the interim after the murders, Lyle and Eric brazenly carried on with their privileged lives, seemingly untroubled. A day after the funeral, Lyle spent $15,000 on Rolex watches and joked about filling his dead father's shoes. He soon went on a $40,000 clothes shopping spree and bought a Porsche. Lyle and Eric lived in luxury apartments, hosting lavish parties. They pursued dreams of business empires and tennis stardom. They painted Los Angeles red with lavish partying, trips, and shopping sprees, funded by their inheritance. But their facade soon began unraveling as clues put them under suspicion. The investigation gained steam when the brothers' lies about their alibis and shotgun purchases were exposed. But the case broke open when Eric fatefully confessed the brutal details to his therapist, Dr. Jerome Oziel. When Oziel's mistress, Judalon Smith, overheard Eric's taped confession, she went straight to the police despite the doctor's pleas for discretion. Lyle was arrested first in Beverly Hills, followed by Eric when he voluntarily came home from a tennis tournament. With the brothers' shocking arrests, the lurid media coverage exploded as the public awaited the coming courtroom spectacle. After years of enjoying ill-gotten wealth and freedom, the Menendez joyride was over. Now the whole world would learn the full, disturbing truth behind the Mansion murders. The courtroom drama exposed the Menendez family's shocking secrets to the world. Jose and Kitty's own sons now accused them of horrors. Lyle choked back tears recounting being molested from age 6 by Jose. Eric described being raped and threatened. Cousins confirmed the brothers had confided sexual abuse by Jose decades earlier, but Kitty refused to hear it, burying herself in denial and enabling. Prosecutors argued the abuse claims were lies fabricated to justify premeditated murder. They painted the brothers as privileged psychopaths who executed their parents in cold blood, simply to accelerate inheriting millions. To convict the Menendez brothers, juries had to feel scorn, not sympathy. But doubts linger. Were they victims turned killers, or simply greedy liars? The defense needed one juror to believe trauma justified murderous retribution. But prosecutors only needed a lone skeptic to sway the verdict to cold-blooded parricide. During Lyle's first trial, prosecutor Pamela Bozanic grilled him on the stand about his cavalier actions after the murders. "What you did was you killed your parents and then began to spend their money, right?" she hammered Lyle. "Well, that's something that happened," he replied evasively. "But I don't think characterizing it that way puts it in the right context." "Well, why did you need to buy a Rolex watch 4 days after your parents were killed?" she demanded. "I didn't need to," Lyle admitted. "You wanted to," she asserted. Even the brothers' tearful testimony about childhood abuse earned them public mockery. In an SNL sketch, the mere sight of actor John Malkovich in Lyle's royal blue sweater provoked knowing laughter. In the end, the evidence apparently did not convince 12 jurors the abuse justified the brutal shotgun onslaught. After a mistrial, a second jury convicted the brothers of first-degree murder. After their conviction, a defiant Eric told Barbara Walters, "I'm just a normal kid." "Eric, you're a normal kid who killed your parents," she cried in disgusted disbelief. He just smiled slowly and replied, "I know." The brothers seemed unfazed and unremorseful after the killings. They casually used their inheritance to fund lavish trips, parties, clothes, and cars. Lyle joked about filling his dead father's shoes and went on a $40,000 designer shopping spree. Instead of grieving, they revealed their newfound wealth and freedom. Their arrogant behavior strongly reinforced the prosecution's contention that the brothers were not tragic victims, but simply greedy psychopaths who killed for money. Condemning them to 33 years in prison, he extinguished their dreams of lives beyond the mansion walls, lives they had already snuffed out. Now, in their 50s, Lyle and Eric remain incarcerated thousands of miles apart, forever severed from society and freedom. Lyle married twice in prison before divorcing. Eric found love by corresponding with a former model, Tammy, for 6 years before their wedding in prison. Despite having no conjugal visits, she remains devoted. Though separated behind concrete walls, the brothers share the solidarity of knowing a sibling faces similar confinement. The lavish mansion where dysfunctional family dynamics spawned such horror still stands in mockery of the American dream's illusion. Its imposing edifice concealed moral decay fester inside. Behind the facade of attained wealth and status lurked dark human impulses that destroyed the family. In the end, all the privilege the mansion represented could not save the Menendez family from itself, or from the tragic consequences of their own crimes. The quiet den still bears the brothers' bloody stain of vengeance on the carpet, where they obliterated the source of their lifelong anguish. And somewhere, Jose Menendez's troubled spirit still lurks in the impressive home he acquired through relentless drive, now empty without his family. Outside, the Beverly Hills mansion appears unchanged, its impressive visage concealing the horror and decay within. Inside, only pain and loss echo through its deserted halls. Now a lavish relic, its vacant, silent rooms serve as eerie mausoleums to the family's demise. The mansion itself seems to mourn what was lost inside its walls. Though miles apart, Eric and Lyle share the solidarity of knowing a brother wakes each day to the same fate, a life permanently confined because of one violent night. Their prison cells are now home, housing the remnants of lives once bursting with advantage and promise. Each day is now a monotonous routine, marked only by glimpses of sky through a small window. Nearly 25 years have passed since the brothers erupted in a fit of long-simmering rage and fear. A quarter century lost, with endless days of monotonous confinement still ahead. United by fate, the Menendez brothers remain separated by concrete regret. But in reconciling their shattered past, perhaps they find some semblance of the elusive peace that long evaded them under their parents' own roof. With their tormentors dead, an eerie calm descended on the mansion. The shocking murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez led to one of the most sensational trials of the 1990s. Television cameras captured every moment as the sordid secrets of the Menendez family were dramatically exposed. Eric and Lyle claimed they had suffered years of horrific abuse and feared for their lives. Prosecutors painted them as greedy liars who wanted to hasten their inheritance. In the end, juries rejected the abuse excuse, and the brothers were sentenced to 33 years in prison without parole for the cold-blooded killings. The tragic saga of the Menendez brothers serves as a cautionary tale about family dysfunction and the corrosive dangers of power and greed. Their violent path from privilege to prison leaves troubling questions about human nature and the dark extremes of family dynamics gone awry.